welcome to the British History Podcast wrap-up show. I'm Benjo.
I'm B, Brandon. And we are dealing today with Season 1, Episode 7, Benjo. This is entitled The Claudian Invasion of Britannia. Yeah. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. What's been going on?
Let's see. I woke up, I went to football practice, came home, I went fishing, caught a bass.
Oh, nice. Did you give it a kiss?
No.
Benjo does not.
But I held it. I forgot to give it a kiss.
You forgot.
I would have given it a good kiss.
Then what'd you do?
Then I went on a run.
You went on a run. Wait, you had band practice.
Band practice. Sorry, I forgot about that.
What do you play?
In this room, actually.
Yeah, what do we got behind us here?
Well, actually, this room, it looks small, and it actually is very small. This is the only part of it, but we do band practice in it. We
do. You're right. We do it. Benjo, where we're sitting right now used to be, before we took the carpeting up in this room, used to be where you used to sit and play drums as a little boy.
Yeah, now I play drums back there.
Where are you pointing?
I'm back there.
What you pointing at the actual drums over there?
You can't see it. If we had a cameraman,
Benjo,
it's very
good to see you, man.
Good to see. Oh, I also went on a bike ride after.
You went on a bike ride.
Honestly, today I've rode my bike like 7 or 8 miles.
Nice. I had a pretty crazy day too. Doesn't sound as crazy as your day.
Did you went to court, right?
I did. That's a whole nother story for another podcast. But Benjo, today we're here to
wait, he wasn't the suspect.
I was not.
He did not kill anybody.
I wasn't even the attorney.
He was just a witness.
I was just a witness. So Benjo, we're talking about the Claudian invasion of Britannia. We're still in the series of episodes where Jamie is giving us the characters we need to know for the podcast. So we've got Aulus Plautius, who was the Roman general tasked with invading Britain. Okay, you've got emperor in Rome, it's like sitting on his throne, and then you have the generals that follow through on his orders. His order was to invade Britain and take over Britain. Aulus Plautius, you need to remember that. Then we have Vespasian. He was the leader of the Second Legion, a future emperor of Rome, but at this time was just one of the soldiers, right?
Okay.
And then you have Tagodominus. Gosh, I hope I'm saying that right.
Let me see.
Yeah, I know. It's
I can't really read it. Okay.
One of the leaders of the Cativalani, brother of Caractacus. You remember that name, Caractacus, from last episode? This is where we edit, and Benjo says, "Yes, I remember Caractacus."
Caractacus. Oh yeah, Caractacus is the.
Don't turn back to the back pages. But
I just did.
He was the leader of the Cativalani. It's spelled Catacolani, but Jamie pronounces it Catavolani. All right, let's get back to the island of Britain. Really, when we're talking about Britain at this point, and what in the history we're talking about southern Britain and their interaction with the Romans coming from the continent in Gaul. So Verica, who was the leader of the Atrebates, had asked Claudius, the Roman emperor, to help defend them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, Claudius wanted to conquer Britain for the prestige. You remember prestige?
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that word.
It's so he could get the reputation, the honor, the history of having conquered Britain, right?
Okay, yeah.
And that's what they were all about, is this honor code, right? So the Britons but on top of that, Britannia kind of did threaten the stability of Gaul and the continent. And the continent, we mean modern day France, yeah. Belgium, right? As far as I understand it, I'm not a cartographer, which is what is a cartographer?
Cartographer. Okay, let's break this down. Grapher means to write. The study of or science of.
Right.
So and then let me think.
Cart. Carta.
I think Carta.
Carta.
Carta. Okay, that sounds Mexican. It sounds Mexican.
It's
Like
not.
Carta. Or
Cartographer. It's the study of maps. Okay, so like what
oh, that's
exactly?
why I was thinking.
Yeah, cartography is the study of maps. So, uh, so if you look at this map, I think most of the Romans were coming from northern France, right? All right, Benjo, we're back. We just had a little discussion about cartography. You're trying to eat the microphone. I don't know what's going on. But
I'll be serious.
we're talking about the map. We're talking about the Romans generally coming over from northern France, right?
Yeah.
So the Romans wanted to address the British problem, and if you talk about the Gauls, you kind of expand that into Britain. Gaul had actually conquered Rome briefly about 450 years earlier. They sacked Rome, right? Um, and so Britain and the Druids, you remember we talked about the Druids? What?
What?
We talked about the Druids.
Oh yeah, I do remember the Druids.
You remember they were like the mystical priests or whatever?
Oh yeah.
They were one of those not under Roman control. And the Druids, not only were they not under control, they were harboring, giving sanctuary to Rome's enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing about Rome was like one of the most amazing empires ever, but their economy was based on conquering territories and taking slaves, right?
Yeah.
You learned a lot about slaves in school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little different from the slavery you learn about in
Not
terms
like
of the United States,
not like
chattel slavery.
I mean, so you're talking about animal slavery?
No, I'm talking about people slavery, but it wasn't exactly the same as chattel slavery and owning a person. It was and it wasn't. And that's a whole other discussion for another podcast. Okay? So at this time, um, the Roman leadership, it was warmer in Britain than it is today.
Yes.
Which is unrelated to my next comment.
Wait, yeah.
Is the leaders in Rome were somewhat reluctant to conquer Britain because they were nervous. Like Britain was this boogie land place that even Julius Caesar himself had been unable to conquer, and they were like, "Is the risk worth the reward?" Right? You ever heard that?
Yeah, risk for reward is
versus reward. So, Benjo. So Jamie then, in the middle of this episode, goes kind of into a deep dive about the characteristics of the native Britons at this time, right? So can you, like, if you were a Roman and you just showed up on the shores, how would you generally characterize the Britons?
aggressive.
I'm talking about physical characteristics.
Okay.
Tall, light hair, blue eyes. Who does that sound like?
People Hitler liked?
Your brother Jared.
Oh.
But maybe both. I don't know. But anyway,
I thought you were putting it into like to go deep.
They had long mustaches, long droopy mustaches. Somehow they must have shaved the rest of their face. I don't know how, like 2,000 years ago, these guys were like trimming mustaches and goatees and only leaving beards, but apparently they did. Like, what did that look like? What did that look like?
Goofy Britons.
So there was, of course, more of a trade economy in the South.
Nobody likes goatees.
They traded especially with Southwest France. Wasn't necessarily, as I understand, the closest region, but was the most tied to British culture.
Like most efficient?
Well, they even call Northwest France Brittany. Northwest France is on the continent.
That's gotta suck for Northern France.
Why?
Because I ain't trying to be in somebody's shadow.
Well, these were people that were very close with Britons that lived on the continent in northwest France. They still call it Brittany today.
I know, but like, would you like your city to be called Greenville or something?
Good point. You make good points. I don't think about these points, but you make good points. But anyway, the native Britons at the time, we don't think they had a written language, and there wasn't a unified Britain. They engaged in small scale warfare against each other, right? So there wasn't like, oh, the Romans were fighting this unified Britain. We've been talking about this. They were fighting individual tribes that they encountered that
Oh,
didn't.
each 5,000 people.
Well,
right?
the Roman legions, yes, were each a group of 5,000. But when they came to the island of Britain, they would encounter just random tribes wherever they landed, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't unified. Had they been unified, they may have been able to. Benji, you're yawning because it's 10:06, but here in Eastern time.
Well, it's 10:06 a.m., not p.m.
June 13th.
10:06 a.m.
No.
Yes.
The
If you
natural
here,
light.
look.
Benjo. So anyway, one thing they talk about the native Britons is, and I think more of this is like Scotland, but they were painted blue. So these Romans were showing up to the shore of Britain, and they encountered these like wild, crazy people with blue paint all over.
I think you told me about that.
Yeah. So they wore like bronze iron neck discs that you think of, like they cover their necks.
That's gotta hurt.
You would think so.
I know
Their
so.
homes are round, thatched roofs, kind of
so.
like we think of, I don't know, it's almost like teepees or, now. But there was some diversity among the Brittoners.
Tents.
Yeah. So anyway, this episode gets a little crazy because Commius and the Atrebates had some square homes that were inspired by the Romans. But anyway, back to Verica, who, if you remember, his dad was Commius, and he had been friends with the Romans. Then the Romans abandoned him, and they tried to have him assassinated. And so Commius turned away from the Romans. Fast forward, Commius's son, Verica, becomes the leader of the Atrebates, and he seeks help from the Romans. So Claudius sent Aulus Plautius, his general. Remember we mentioned his name earlier?
Yeah.
Sent 4 legions. So if you had 4 legions, how many troops would that be?
20,000 people.
Correct.
I almost said
5,000 times 4.
I almost said 700,000.
But again, like happened last episode, they get there and the soldiers are on the continent. They refuse to board the ships in Gaul to invade Britannia. So Aulus Plautius, I don't know what the time frame is here. Like, are we talking about months? Because Aulus Plautius sent word back to Rome that said, hey, these legions are refusing to board the ships. And he asked them for help. But it had to have taken forever to get word from Gaul to Rome, right?
Yeah.
And back. Months. So anyway, at that point, many weeks. So
I meant years?
No, weeks, maybe a month or 2. So Claudius got word that the legions weren't boarding the ships, and he sent narcissists. Have you ever heard the word narcissist?
Yes, they get knives and they cut people's limbs off.
Narcissists think very highly of themselves.
Never mind.
So,
why do you think it's funny?
Narcissist, the person, and I'm assuming this is what they named narcissist.
It just sounds. I think I was thinking of assassin.
Sure. Sure.
I'm not. I actually that's what.
Okay. Well. Good
no, I'm not lying. That's what I thought. I wasn't trying to be silly or anything.
Okay. Well. Anyway, narcissist, the person. Well, assuming they named the word narcissist after Wikipedia.com/narcissist. I'm assuming, right? The person was a freed slave, and Claudius, the emperor of Rome, sent him to Gaul to take over and force them to go and invade Britain. And so Aulus Plautius might have been like, WTF? You're sending this freed slave over? I'm the general in charge. This guy's supposed to convince everybody. But he gave a whole speech. The soldiers kind of jeered him. Yeah. when he tried to give this motivational speech.
WTF.
Bold move, I did.
Speaking of bold moves.
Bold moves. Bold moves. Benjo, what middle school are you going to right now?
Westview Element. I'm at Westview Middle School.
Westview Middle School. What's your mascot?
Bulldog. Wait, that's rude. Titan.
Titans.
No, I'm not.
Come on, bro. Come on.
I mean,
bro.
it's 10:06. What? 10:06 a.m. I just woke up.
All right. So anyway, the soldiers were kind of pressured by like they're like, we can't let this slave like show us up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, all right, we'll get on the ship. And so the Roman soldiers, the legions, got on the ship and they landed at Richburg, modern day Kent.
Don't know that.
It's in, as I understand it, southeastern.
Africa?
No, in Britain,
in England,
southeastern Britain, right? And as they moved in, as usual, the Britons were smaller tribes, and they were engaging in like guerrilla warfare, small scale attacks, right? That's kind of the whole theme of the war against the Romans, right? And so again, they didn't have this united front. So some tribes were surrendering, some British tribes were surrendering, and this improved the Roman morale, right? So the Romans are there. The Cativalani army, which is the native Britons, tried to like unify, but again, same thing we've been talking about over and over is the Roman discipline just overmatched the Britons. Their slow, methodical pace to just be disciplined, organized, took them over. So, anyway, the Britons hadn't been in fear of the Romans. The Britons were lined up along one bank of the river. The Romans were lined up on another bank. The Romans just went up the river or down the river. I'm not exactly sure. Jamie doesn't say. The Romans crossed, and then they just attacked the Britons.
That's harsh.
It is harsh. Life was harsh back then, especially like warfare, and warfare happened a lot. But because of the distraction, Vespasian, the Roman commander, not the Roman general, but the Roman commander, he crossed the river and he attacked. So the Britons are getting attacked by the people who had already crossed the river, and then they're getting attacked by Vespasian, who does cross the river right there. So they're getting attacked on two fronts. Anyway, nightfall comes. I don't know what like this battle is called, but nightfall comes. The next day, the Britons return with a larger force. But again, the same thing. Roman slow, deliberate march eventually won. But so we're talking about the leader of the Britons. Togodomenus was killed. So Caractacus, who I think was his brother, took over completely for the whatever you could call the unified British tribes. The Britons fell back to Camulodunum, which we call modern day Colchester. You know any of this British geography?
I don't know, but I like it. I'm attracted to it.
So Aulus Plautius knew he was about to win this victory for the Roman Emperor Claudius, but he didn't want to conquer Britain totally. Why didn't he?
Because then they would probably fight. They would, if he did like what you said earlier, they would probably try. They would probably really go after.
Right.
They would probably really go after.
And that was
them,
kind of the theme of the last.
Sorry,
episode.
I don't know. I took long.
No, it's okay.
I was trying to get the right words out.
I get it. That was kind of the theme of the last episode, right? But this one was more so because Aulus Plautius, the Roman general, was worried that Claudius wouldn't get enough credit. And that was what the big thing. Remember, Claudius was looking for this prestige to conquer Britain, to be like a great Roman emperor, and I conquered. So anyway, they didn't conquer completely, and the Britons were like, WTF, right? Second use of WTF tonight. But so Claudius, he himself finally showed up. You know what he brought?
One in elephants.
War.
War elephants.
War elephants. He brought war elephants.
Oh, okay. I'm liking the elephants.
As far as I know, this is the. When I just hit that, our family tambourine shook. But this is the first incident I know of. Oh my goodness, as of war elephants on Britain.
It's very
I'm not
exciting.
saying it never happened before that.
This is very exciting. I'm liking war elephants.
So if you were a British horse and a war elephant showed up and got off a boat, what would you do?
Wait, if I was a what?
A British horse.
And I just got off of a boat?
No, and you're just like, hey. And you see over there a boat land and a war elephant get off.
Shoot, you know what I'm doing, me personally?
What are you doing?
First, I'm knocking whoever's on me off. Then I'm getting myself as far as I can, as far away as I can get over.
I ain't got to beat that elephant. I just got to beat you.
Or I make friends with the elephant.
Oh, well, these war elephants were crazy and they intimidated everybody. So anyway, Aulus Plautius, the Roman general, took the Roman Emperor Claudius to Camulodunum, modern day Colchester, for an easy conquer. And it was like the year 42 version of a photo op. Like, hey, the Roman emperor's here. We just conquered Britain. Like, what's that? Like spring break, you know? So anyway, Claudius, the Roman emperor, was there in Britain for 16 days. And he left. So he was there. He had to go back to Rome. He left Britannia in control of Aulus Plautius. But Aulus Plautius did not have these like dynastic family like roots. So he didn't get to enjoy all the accolades. Benjo,
bummer.
That's where we're going to end this episode. Okay. This is a longer episode than usual, but the episode's got to end at some point.
I'm Benjo. Gotta go get my morning coffee. Yeah, this has been the British History Wrap-Up Show. He's Brandon. I'm Benjo.
B. Smith.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time.